with MarkMonitor for almost 6 years now. And it's really interesting because throughout this almost 6 years, I've spoken to many brand owners, including some of you. And the one theme that really comes up often is how do we get internal buy-in from the C-levels, upper management? How do we get internal buy-in to really fund and support a brand protection program? And today we have DJ, who's at LifeScan, and not saying you look old, but you've been around the block and you've been doing this for quite some time. So DJ's worked at P&G, Procter & Gamble for over 30 years, had his own consulting firm, and now works at LifeScan. So he's set up brand protection programs for a number of companies. And I think today we'll get deep on this topic and start asking you tough questions about how we can do this successfully.
Because your microphone's in by your scarf.
Never mind.
Or switch it to the other side, too. All right, you good?
Hello?
Put it on your scarf. There we go.
Hello? Okay. Anyways.
There we go. You can turn mine down because I have a huge voice. I told you, turn the gain down. All right.
Becky's got an alternative solution. In the meantime, DJ, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is DJ Smith. I worked for P&G for 31 years. Prior to that, my dad was a food broker, so I was kind of in the retail grocery business from a manufacturer side for my entire life. And I worked for P&G the first 20 years as in marketing and sales. And then as P&G purchased the Gillette company, P&G had a really small brand protection program. I mean, it was extremely reactive. In fact, it was housed in the legal department. And when I transitioned, the first year I transitioned, I found out that our lawyers were taking the notifications from Customs, and they thought that the notification was for them to verify, and then they would go back and Customs would seize. They didn't realize that Customs had already seized the product and was just sending them the notification. It was funny, actually. But what I learned, and then I was able to get an early retirement from P&G, so that was exciting. Started my own little consulting firm, and then I was blessed really to get on with LifeScan. Was actually hired, I'm pointing at Kevin here, for the first 3 weeks at Johnson & Johnson, knowing that Johnson & Johnson was going to divest LifeScan to an individual company. And one of the things I realized, and this is where this topic is so passionate, I'm so passionate, and I know that half the people left because people are in their company and everybody has their silo and everybody thinks I'm doing it right. But I'll tell you, I learned a tremendous amount because I came over to brand protection and the first thing I said was, holy bananas, why aren't we using these brand protection principles to drive our business on the commercial side? Why are we hiding this organization and it's completely reactive? There are so many things that I was doing in brand protection that I was like, we should be sitting in sales meetings. We should be sitting in commercial planning meetings for the next 3 years because it was housed in the legal department and it was all reactive. And that's all it was. And so I started working that with my boss, Shelley Duggan, who's still the global director over there. And I'll tell you this, okay? What I found was that lawyers, and I worked with a lot of lawyers at P&G, they'll go and they'll go in and they'll learn about IP law. And then they go to work for a company or they go somewhere and they get knocked off by an unknown company in China, in a foreign land, and they have no idea what to do. Because to them, they learned all about the laws and how they were going to enforce it. It's really easy if you're working for Johnson & Johnson as an IP lawyer and you feel like Ben Keyser has knocked off one of your IP. You're gonna have a civil suit, and that's all going to work. I don't want to say good, but you're going to be able to work that. But what happens when you go to work for this small company and all of a sudden you have this huge global counterfeit problem and you have no idea what to do? That's a real situation, and I realized that. And so what I realized was what Andy said this morning is that nobody on my brands, and Angela, no offense to the Rolexes of the world and the Prestige, where people knowingly buy counterfeits, that's a whole different other problem, right? But with Kevin, myself, Johnson & Johnson, P&G, Auto Parts, nobody goes out and says, I think I'm going to buy a counterfeit test strip. I have a risk. The deal is like half price, and I think it could be counterfeit. No one does that. Okay, they all think it's genuine product. And so what I realized was there is a one-to-one correlation. If I can shut down the counterfeit, in theory, our genuine sales should go up. And I started testing that theory, and it proved out. So that's something as we get into the questions, we'll talk about how I did that within P&G and then also now within LifeScan and some other companies.
Actually, I think that's a perfect segue to my very first question. And by the way, everyone, please keep this session interactive. So if you think of questions along the way, please don't be shy. Let's not wait until the very end of the session. Please raise your hand, and someone will bring the microphone for you. Yes, so it's a perfect segue. My very first question is, where do you think brand protection should actually sit? Is it commercial? Is it legal? Is it security? Where do you think it really fits?
That is a great question, and that's a softball question right there. She set me up. And I was just talking this with Kevin at J&J. I had the beauty of going from P&G to a consulting firm where I was then working with some small companies typically who were calling me saying, dude, we have a counterfeit problem. What do we do, right? And we don't know how to solve this because I'm a one-person legal team and I don't have a brand protection department. To then going over to J&J for a number of weeks and then getting to transition 3 months from one of the very best at doing brand protection, which is J&J, to then setting up my own LifeScan, which I am the brand protection person for the whole globe, right? Which is what I wanted. And so it was really interesting. And so there's 2 points that I would say. So wherever you house brand protection, you need to have two. What I have found, and again, I'm giving my opinions. You may have a whole different thought, and that's okay, because there's no right answer here. But there are 2 critical points, and if you're missing these 2 points, then you are missing the boat, okay? And you're not going to get the funding that you need. And the first one is you have to have it tied to your legal IP department. You have to, okay? Because sometimes they'll house you in global security. Sometimes you're housed in the commercial side, and you don't have that real direct tie to the legal department. If you don't have that, then you're missing out because you need that expertise for IP law and all of those things. But the second piece, and I think this is where a lot of companies fail, is you need a tie to the commercial group. Whatever you have, whatever you're calling your commercial group, is it sales, is it logistics? And it's all of those. So I'm gonna give you 3 examples. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So I kind of wrote them on the side thing. And I'll tell you a story first. When I went to LifeScan, this is no knock, the LifeScan, or the J&J people did an amazing job getting the job posted and getting it set up. But we're going to a private equity company where they literally are saying, what the hell is brand protection? And why is this budget sitting here? Why do I need to spend this kind of money, okay? So as I transitioned, I met my boss, who is the number 2 guy in the company. He's the chief commercial officer, basically running all the business. That's who I'm reporting to. So that's how they set me up, right? And it was amazing because I'm talking to the number 2 guy. And here's my transition. So I meet him for the first time. I said, Todd, can you give me my 30, 60, and 90-day transition plan? This is his exact answer. DJ, I have no idea even what you do. They just assigned you to me. This is what the brand protection, Rich, Kevin's boss, recommended that I'm doing this. I have no idea. So the only thing I know about brand protection, I'd sit in a meeting every quarter where the person that had it before me, Lisa Smiley, would give a report to the global leadership about brand protection efforts. And he said, I'd sit there for an hour and go, wow, that's really interesting, great job. And then I'd move on to my stress, which is how am I going to drive the business profitably. So he goes, I really don't know what you do, so would you get with Roy Albiani, if you know Roy, or you get with Lisa, and let them drive your plan. Well, I sat with Roy and Lisa, and they said, there's a specific reason we put you there, and it's because we want to have this tie to the business that we were missing. Because we would get a quarter, we'd get 1 hour on the chief officer's schedule to present our activities. And then you know what the people are going, oh, great job, everybody, you got all these takedowns, you're doing this good stuff, good job, everybody. Anything I can help you with? No, whatever, right? And then when budgets come, and when it gets tight and your business is starting to struggle, you're now an expense, and you're a head count, and you're gonna start to get cut. Let me tell you a story. I'm not gonna take credit for this because my boss, Shelley Duggan, has P&G struggled for the last 10 years. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. We sold off 120 brands. We're down to 63 brands. I don't work there anymore, so I can't say we're. There was only one organization that we know of at P&G that was not cut, and that was the brand protection. It grew. Our head count every year grew. And that's because we were able to show the value to the organization more than just we're a legal expense, okay? We're a necessary expense. And so that was important. So let me give you the 3 examples. That was a long-winded way of saying that. So a number of years ago, and you could Google this, counterfeit coupons, Arizona. The largest case I ever did, it's called SavvyShopperSite.com. The president of P&G North America called me up because I had a connection with her and said, DJ, I am losing millions every year, tens of millions of dollars to fraudulent free coupons. So people would call up and say, I had a bad experience with your Tide. We're not going to resend them another thing of Tide. We send them a coupon for a free one. We have programs where we try to get people we go to hospitals and give free coupons to new moms, right? Well, we had a counterfeiter out there that was getting these free coupons, sending them over to the Philippines, and then also we found there was a printer in Los Angeles later that we found out, send the coupon over and come back, and I kid you not, with 10,000 coupons exactly replicated with the watermark and everything, and our genuine coupons have a number, so not every coupon has the same number, and they had those numbers. So all we knew is that our budget, a marketing budget is set here. So you set a coupon, you set a marketing event, you set, this is what I'm gonna spend and it should deliver this return, okay? I have a new mom program, that's what we called it. New mom program for the hospitals. I'm gonna give them a free coupon for Pampers or Loves, and I should be returning over the years this much. Well, if your budget's set at 10 million and your returns, and all of a sudden your expense comes in at 40 or 50 million, that's a problem, okay, for a marketer. That's how a business person thinks. That's how I thought when I was in the commercial side, okay? So she had gone to legal. She had gone to, this is our president. She had gone to global security. She had gone to our coupon fraud division. They couldn't do anything because you can't, all they could do is go out to the retailers like Kroger and Smith's and everybody else and Albertsons and say, oh, that's a fraudulent coupon. But we had to be careful because if it was a free coupon for like a Mommy Dearest program, right? What happens if you're a new mom, emotional, you're not getting any sleep, you walk into your Kroger and the person says, oh, that coupon you have is counterfeit. Well, I got it at the damn hospital, right? She's angry, she's mad. She's not pissed off, she's pissed off at Pampers. So think about this. This was a fabulous idea. So she came to brand protection. I located the person that was doing it. It was easy. It was so easy. And this is my knock on global security. No offense to global security people, but I was like, how did you not be able to find this, right? It's because they weren't trying. They had so many other competing priorities. So I found the person, knew exactly who she was, went to the FBI. The FBI rejected it, said, freaking counterfeit coupons? I'm not going to do it. So I got the local PD to do it, the commercial fraud unit. When we hit that organization, we had to go to my CVS buddies down there to get a counting machine. There were so many coupons, and that you were all being counterfeited. She was so complex that she was even getting to, this is in the old days, the McDonald's, you know, that you can go get the $5, $10 coupons. She was getting to start counterfeiting those. We had Sonic coupons. She had already counterfeited the cards. So she was nailing everybody, $43 million. They seized so much property down there. When I was on the raid, we invited the FBI guy that was in white collar crime down in Arizona that refused it. He literally was walking around going, I cannot believe that I turned this down. I'm going to be in so much trouble. So that's story number one. But what I did then, when we shut that down, I went to our coupon redemption, and I said, I need to have the numbers every month of how we're meeting toward the marketing budget. Would you know to do that? Why? Because the coupon marketing guys are going to take all the credit for my work. And so what I saw was we were over budget, and this is not by tens of millions of dollars every year. All of a sudden, the delta between budget and what we were spending dropped. So we knew we hit the big target, right? So who gets the credit? Well, had I not had the numbers, right? Had I not had the numbers, sending them on. Hey, Mel Healy was our president at the time of North America. Mel, great job getting brand and protection involved. Look what we've done. We've stopped XXX million dollars worth of loss, right? Because I wouldn't have got the credit for that. So it was the follow-up. The second one is we were having an issue with e-commerce. So nobody knew what to do. Well, they knew I had been working with Amazon very closely, right? Because we have a backdoor. You guys have skill sets that you don't realize how important they are to your commercial side. So our president, again, invited me to her global leadership team. She says, I just want you to talk about platforms, online platforms. I didn't even have a presentation. I went in and I said, well, let's do what a consumer would do. I Googled Tide, or I Googled the best feminine care product, or I Googled this. So this is what a consumer is going to do. And I walked them through a consumer page by page by page. And I said, you know how the pages come up? And I said, wow, oh, look, Amazon's right at the top. Let's click on Amazon. What does the consumer see? Guess what? Our person over digital, I don't even think they're there anymore, and I hope it wasn't because of me, but our person over digital, they are sweating. Because I'm now explaining to our senior management how a page on Amazon works. And the question that got everybody is the person say, oh yeah, we're worried about our, oh come on DJ, it's going out of my mind and they say it all the time. Our, you know, when you're losing the buy box, there it is. So we're worried about our losing the buy box. And one of the executives said, well, hold it, I'm looking at the report here and there's only one SKU. I said, well, that's an ASIN. She says, well, what about all these other ones? I said, oh, I don't know, no offense to the Amazon people, I call them rogue ASINs. I said, these are all ASINs that are set up not by our Amazon team, the sales team that you have paid, that we have 60 people sitting in Amazon. They only work on this one ASIN in this landing page. But all these other ones, I call them rogue ASINs. They had no clue. And they said, well, where's our report on the sales that are going to that? Well, we don't measure that. We only measure the one ASIN that we set up. Dude, it was like, I saw the sweat rolling down our digital VP, right? Because he's just like, and they're asking this guy, well, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we measuring all SKUs? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? So I fast forward to my third story, which is when I went over to LifeScan, I said, I'm going to go over here. Well, lo and behold, they don't have an e-commerce strategy. They don't have a direct selling force for One Touch to Amazon and the platforms, but they're developing it. So I got invited to the global e-commerce strategy session, and it was unbelievable. And so my boss, who's the chief commercial officer, said, DJ, that would have never happened in the old brand protection world because it was all about counterfeits and all this stuff. But he said, because we're now talking in commercial language and they understand your value, because you know more about marketplaces than anyone in our company, because we don't have a sales force calling on Amazon yet, right? So they said, we need to have DJ at this thing. Well, now I'm sitting with all of the head people that are developing our global e-com strategy. So think about the value that brand protection now is gaining. So the other story I had is that Lisa, and Kevin knows this one, Lisa found out the budget that I got for brand protection, because I put it all in there. Because I'm in these meetings, right? And I asked for the budget. She's like, dude, you have way too much money. That was her response. She goes, you have way too much money for, I go, I know, but I'm not going to give it back, right? So I'm definitely not going to give it back, because that's what we do. We play the budget game. But that's the 3 stories about having that tie to the commercial side and more value than you think.
I like that. I'm going to take a pause and see if the audience has any questions. Paul, hang on. Can someone bring the mic over for Paul, please? Or you can scream.
It's a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you find your budget is tied to percentage of sales, or is it arbitrary?
That's a very good question.
No, that's a great question. The problem that you run into is if you tie it too much to sales lift, right? Then they're going to expect. So you have to manage the message about what you're doing, okay? So, but what you want to do is you want to have that commercial tie, because if you're just a line item expense, when the business is tight, you're going to get cut, okay? But if you've shown value, when the business leaders are in their meeting and they're talking about where are we going to save money, they're going to say, whoa, don't cut brand protection, because last year he drove a 3% growth in China for me. I'll tell you a story a little later about that one. And so I think it's how you manage the message, but my budget is tied to protecting the brand, but I'm not questioned on the budget, because every year I'm showing an ROI on how I've delivered on this budget, not only with protecting the brand equity, but I was able to drive sales in Indonesia. I was able to shut this organization down in China, and we saw this kind of lift. When the coupon case hit, I was able to go in and say, dude, I saved you guys tens of millions of dollars, right? So for me to ask for a couple of $1 million budget is nothing. So great question.
And actually, I was going to say, it really sounds like you tie in a lot of the different key stakeholders in order to make your case about why brand protection is really important. My next question to you was going to be, what would you say are the basic requirements then to like building a successful brand protection program? Maybe
Okay.
like top 5 things.
All right, top 5 things. I think, and I've written down some things so I won't forget them. This is going to sound strange, but I think you need to understand how your company makes money. If you don't know how the company makes money, then you're going to probably wake up a tiger at some point. Somebody mentioned that they were trying to shut down their own website, right? That pisses people off, right? And you're going to get somebody out there going, somebody did that. If you don't know who your top revenue generators are, your top customers, then and where you make money, because my business is very simple. We make money when we sell a box of test strips to a retailer or a wholesaler that pays us a check for that test strip. In reality, that is how we make money, okay? If you don't know how the money revenue stream comes into your business, then you're probably not you're probably not speaking in the commercial language, okay? Because that's how you make money as a company, and you need to protect that revenue stream. So an example is if our largest customer is CVS, for example, and I find CVS has counterfeits on their shelf, and I decide to go out and send a letter, which has happened many times. It didn't happen with CVS, but it happened in some countries where our largest customer got a letter from our brand protection and legal department, and their CEO of our largest European customer called our CEO, and that conversation was not pretty, okay? You're threatening me, I'm your largest customer, right? Those kinds of mistakes can be avoided, so that's important. And because you not know where the money is, you've got to understand the counterfeit production network and how they go to market. Because if you understand their go-to-market strategies, a lot of times they're ahead of your company strategies. They're very smart. These guys know how to take advantage of new logistics, new intel, new forms of, they were selling through third-party merchants before any of us were selling through third-party merchants, okay? Pharma Packs grew up in a 4-year period and was one of the largest retailers in the US now. And that was all third-party merchant front for quality. Oh, I don't want to say they're front for Quality King, but they buy through the gray market, okay? And so that's if you don't understand that, then that's important. You have to then you have to be able to quantify the negative impact. You have to be able to quantify why this is important to the company. Because what they're going to see is you seized 30 boxes of counterfeit test strips. Dude, why are we spending this kind of money, right? Well, that 30 boxes is just 1 day supply. Or that 300 boxes is 1 day. Understand how a counterfeiter operates, okay? And then develop that strategy proportional to the risk. If the risk isn't that great, don't go in and try and make it more than it is, because commercial will see right through it. And then you have to have an internal and an external detection and authentication. If you can't sense, if you don't know quickly that you have a counterfeit problem, then, and that comes through getting out with your consumer relations department, understanding how calls come into your call center, having a MarkMonitor. If you don't have online monitoring in today's world, you're lost, okay? You have to have online monitoring today, because everyone is saying the manufacturers have to also do their part in policing this, okay? We can't just yell at the platforms and yell at eBay and yell at Amazon. That just doesn't work. We have to partner with them, but it's up to the manufacturers to be able to have that as well. And then one of the key things that we did is you have to incorporate, and this is the first thing I did at LifeScan. I went over to our plant, sat down, figured out who our R&D people were, and said, look, I'm a director. You can share with me our upstream initiatives, because I need to develop anti-counterfeiting programs when they're developing the new brand and the packaging, because then it's zero cost. When you come back to your plant and say, oh, I need to put a sticker on my box, or I need a reactive stage, your plant's saying, dude, I've just been asked to take 5 cents a package out. And you're asking me to add a penny a box? No way, ain't gonna happen, right? So now you're fighting instead of being upstream. So that's how I would do it. And then I already talked integrating into the commercial growth plan. Like you should be integrated into you should know what your growth plan is, and how is brand protection a part of our strategy going forward to grow 10% every year? What am I going to deliver that to the company?
And I'm kind of curious at this point, within the audience, how many of you work very closely with the commercial organization? Yeah? And okay. So not all of you raised your hands, but clearly from your perspective, you actually think that that's kind of a key piece to building and raising funds. So my last question to you, because I know we're running out of time, my very last question is, so how do you ask internally for more money? Because obviously brand protection programs can be very expensive.
I think that the quick answer is you have to speak in their language, okay? If you're talking, like everybody up here, unless you're at Amazon or you're a tech company, the things that they were talking about, my executives, they went to Harvard Business School. They're marketers, right? You're talking in you have to talk in their language. And if you talk in their language, and I'll just give you one example. I know we're down to 1 minute. So we were having sales decline in China on one of our largest shampoo brands. And out of the luck of an amazing R&D guy, he saw our products were going down, but we weren't having consumer complaints. And we're like, we know in China we have a bad, and this is the largest hair care brand in China. And we're like, what is going on? We're losing like 2-3% a year. So sales is like, dude, we're doing everything. We're spending. It's got to be a counterfeit problem. So I go over and I said, let's go and do a test buy. So we went out in the marketplace and test buy. And somehow we sent like 300 bottles of shampoo to our R&D department. Somehow our R&D guys found using MRI or MS, whatever it's called, mass spectrometer or whatever it is, they didn't see a spike, and they realized there was one chemical element that was missing out of this region in China. So we realized we had a counterfeit bottle that was almost identical to our bottle. They were probably using our supplier. They were probably using our labels. The product was almost identical to our product. And what do you do when it's that? And so you know how sales works in China. You have distributors. Our authorized distributors were getting undercut by price by these other distributors coming in going, don't buy from them. I can get it to you cheaper. P&G screwing you. This distributor screwing you. This is the sale they're making, right? Retailers don't know they're buying counterfeit. Guess what? We were able to identify, and you could read this in the news because it made the news in 2014 or 2015, November or December is when we hit it, 6 manufacturing locations of shampoo. 6, all from the same person. We had some chemists that had come over, retired from P&G, that come over to make the product. Now this is important. We estimated that it was 5 to 6% of the business volume, just based on what their invoices were showing. So the PSP showed us the invoices. So what do I do as a brand protection manager? I show the rate, I do all this stuff. Nope, I did that. But guess what was more important? I got with the sales manager, said every month I want to see the sales numbers versus previous month and previous year. Every month I want you to send me the report. He didn't want to, right? Because of course sales is going to go, our marketing program is so amazing, we had a 6% lift. So I made him send me. And it was hard because he did not want to send me the sales reports, right? Got the sales reports, boom. Guess what? Next year, 5% sales lift in China. So we reversed the trend. So guess what you write? I guess the raid worked. We reversed the trend, the declining trend for 3 years of our shampoo, and we've now seen a year of record growth, right? You make all those things up to the executives, and that's how you do it. So that's how I tin cup. And that one, I had to go in because I had built the trust, had to go in, and I had to get hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, it was well over $1 million to do the investigation. But the only way that I could do it is the trust that I built up, and by speaking in their language, saying, you guys are seeing this kind of decline, it's worth X millions of dollars a year to you. I think it's worth, what are you spending in marketing? This is the sale I said. What do you spend in marketing to try and turn the business around? Oh, well, we've got what they call an upsale program, right? The investment program. Tens of millions of dollars marketing spend. Give me $1 million. Give me $1 million of that dollars and let me go. What's your risk? If I don't find there's a counterfeit problem, you didn't risk anything. But we're seeing that there's a counterfeit. And it costs a lot of money to do those test buys, do all the testing and stuff. But guess what? Once you then got it, now, that was how we got the extra $1 million, right? But again, I have to go back. I was speaking in their language.
And so it's really interesting. I know we have to wrap things up, but in conclusion, it sounds like, rather than going around, and I joke with DJ on this, rather than going to each department with a tin cup and begging for money, having a more strategic approach and really showing the commercial aspect, how your consumers purchase your product, and having that is probably the most easy, and speaking the language is how we can hopefully raise more money for a brand protection program.
Hopefully that was helpful, I hope.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.